Hey everyone, it's Derek here with another video, and today we're talking about AC units. So if you own a home, condo, townhouse, what have you, you may interface with an AC unit that may have problems. And over the last, let's say, 5 months, I've been dealing with my own issues at my own home. So first issue was that the capacitor that I had blew out. So I went into the actual AC unit, opened up, and the AC unit for us is outside, and opened up the panel, and there's a service panel on the side. And make sure again that you turn off the fuse at the box or the breaker, and then you pull out the fuse as well. So there's two things that you can technically remove and make sure that you won't have any issues, electrical issues where you're getting shocked. You can also have insulated gloves, which will help you from actually contacting it directly because our bodies are very susceptible to electricity in that the great majority of us is built from water. And then you can use little tools like this, or a voltmeter, or a current detector, and you can utilize those to detect if anything has current running through it. So first things first, take out all that stuff or turn all those things off, and then you can open up the service panel on the side of your AC unit and have a look. And our first issue, I wasn't really sure what and wanted to make sure and confirm with my wife. We had a service in Illinois for ABC Plumbing, and they do plumbing, AC units, and heating and furnace and all this other stuff. So it's a $17 per month fee, and they sort of give you service, month or yearly service. So they change out filters for humidifiers, AC units, well, not AC units, but like your air handler and what have you. So that was or I thought it was a pretty good service, and utilizing that to sort of give me info on what to do. I'm a pretty handy person, so what I really want is just a second person who is supposedly an expert in it and letting me know, like, does this make sense to do or not? So went with them to utilize this and to sort of diagnose the issue. They opened it up and saw that the capacitor needed replacements and possibly wanted to replace other things as well, and then also wanted to do a full cleaning. So I asked the person, hey, like, what do I need to get this working again? And they basically, there was a few things that went on. So first things first is they mentioned, okay, like the capacitor needs to be replaced, and then the contactor also needs to be replaced too. So this hunk of metal right here. And basically all this is basically a light switch, if you will, and it clicks on and off here. So that's basically all it does. It basically, when the AC unit goes on, you hear a ding, and then that's what this is. You'll hear that like audibly if you're working outside in your AC unit and you turn your AC unit on or off, you'll hear this noise. There's kind of only a couple things that need to be replaced regularly or semi-regularly, if you will. Typically what the issue is capacitors blow. Basically, there's too much current going through it and it overheats and then blows the wire, basically. And this could be for a multitude of different reasons. It could be your AC unit is not running super efficiently in that it's not getting all the heat out that it needs to, and it continues to run over and over again. Or you're running your AC unit at a super low temperature and it's never cooling it down fully. So it never gets a break, basically. And the thing's running outside, so if it's hot outside, obviously it's gonna have some issues. But in general, capacitor, contactor, and that's mostly it. There's not really many things that go bad. The compressor can go bad, but that's not typically something that goes bad unless there's other reasons for that. Again, overheating, different things like that. But we actually checked the units and just saw that the capacitor was the reason why this thing wasn't working. We checked like all the noises and what have you, and all the all the wires and what have you, everything looked fine. When looking closer into it, it looked like there's some reason why there was corrosion on some of the unit. It's possible that sprinklers or rain or what have you ended up allowing it to get some condensation on it, and then some of the contactor or the actual wires looked like they were getting a little bit rusty and corroded. So had it in my head to actually replace that, and rewiring is pretty easy. You can just use like just a simple thing like from Amazon and actually utilize some of the wires here. And with these were better than the ones that we had. These are actually like insulated wires, which you can use to heatsink, and you can make them waterproof too, which is something that's really cool and really nice. And obviously in terms of the voltage, you get sort of a little guide here, and basically yellow ones are for a little bit more, about 10 gauge, so mostly covers anything that you would need. Now, that's not all of them. There are some contactor wires here that require a lot more voltage, so you would need to be careful in not utilizing those, but just stripping those wires and clipping them on here and here. So for ABC Plumbing, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, and one of the things was like everything is super expensive. And one thing to note is that after we were able to fix the original issue, which was the capacitor, and actually purchasing the right capacitor, because the person from ABC, he was trying to sell me an entirely new AC unit, which was only like 7 years old. And these things typically can last up to 15 to 20 years if it's kept up well. So basically it was like $2,400 new AC unit, and I'm just like, why do I need a new AC unit? It's only it's only 6, 7 years old, and you mentioned that it should, like, all the people who have came from ABC previously to you have said it should be working fine. We don't really know why the issue is happening. So this was super frustrating, and this can be occurring for people who aren't super experienced and haven't ran into these particular issues. We ended up replacing the capacitor, and then everything was working fine.
Looks like we're up and running, baby.
And then suddenly it stopped working a few months later. So this again spans from like April, when we started using the AC unit, and then all the way to September, where we finally fixed and resolved the issue. So from start to finish, the first issue was the capacitor, which we replaced. No big issue there, and everything was fine moving forward. And then randomly, I think we actually had a power surge. What ended up happening was that, and I'll show pictures here, is that this contactor actually received a surge, and it actually welded itself. I'm not sure what this part is technically called, but it welded itself to this, so that we were finding that when we kept clicking the AC on and off, it eventually would turn on. And the issue was midsummer, and it was quite hot here in Illinois, and the AC would either click on and just stay on and eventually freeze the pipes, which is not really good. It wasn't super reliable to keep the unit on, so we always had to keep monitoring it, and it was driving me insane. So this had gone on for like months and months, and I was trying to troubleshoot and figure out what was the issue. And then eventually we had the original people who installed the unit. And what's funny is that one of the things that I wanted to try was, because I thought I had the old contactor here, and I wanted just to try it, replace it, and with the contactor that we replaced it with, and just see if it worked. And turns out I threw out the contactor, which was a huge mistake, but because this is around $90-ish. And also to note how much these things cost. So the capacitor, I'll show how much it cost here, but it was a total of like $150 in parts. But they wanted to charge like $1,400 and $2,400. So $1,400 for cleaning and also replacing the contactor and the capacitor. So ridiculous, like almost basically a new AC unit. And then the other person came out and was like $2,400 because you didn't do it at the time where we came out for your yearly service. And I'm just like, what is going on with this? So ABC plumbing, do not use if you're in the area. Um, just not super reliable, not super knowledgeable, because they were not able to figure out this particular issue here, which is the fact that there was a surge and it was welded shut, and they just kept saying like and wanting me to replace the AC unit, which is super wasteful. So I didn't really want to do that. So we had the people who originally installed our AC and HVAC system. And they came out, and basically the guy came out and troubleshooted it in like maybe 30 minutes and said, hey, this is a problem because you just need a new contactor. And what typically happens, or this is not something that typically happens. You usually don't receive a surge and have this welded shut. So if I went with my original gut and saved the old contactor, I probably would have solved the issue and missed the $300, which the person came out to replace this. So I guess long story short is sort of trust your instincts, trust your gut, and sometimes there are companies that are really just trying to get your money. So just keep an eye out for that. This whole thing happened over like a 6-7 month period, and it was driving me insane. So, I think in the grand scheme of things, when looking at the AC unit, there's really only a few things, again, that can go wrong. Contactor, all AC units have this thing. Some people might now have heat pumps, which I'm not entirely sure have the same things, but yeah, the AC unit is quite like manual and dumb. It just uses this unit here, a capacitor, and just a bunch of wiring between the fan, the compressor, and yeah, that's essentially it. There's a fan motor. That's usually not something that goes out, but the fail points are really the capacitor here or sorry, the contactor here and the capacitor. So check those two things. Check the ones that you have for your particular unit. You can buy the parts for like $150 and you can change them out yourself. Now the wire stripping, if you're not super comfortable with that, obviously you might need an electrician for that, and that might cost you some pennies here. But if you have a friend that's worked with things before or a contractor, it's really plain and simple. Stripping wires are really easy. None of these things are super high voltage. When things are connected here, these are still really easy to strip as well. The wiring is much thicker, and with the copper wiring it's a little bit more difficult, but again, it's still easy to strip it and take off the casing of the rubber wiring around it. So I would say, definitely jobs that you can do yourself. Just be careful again with the electricity. Use some of the tools that you have here to figure out if there's a current running through it. If there is, and turn off your breakers, your fuses, and all of those things, just to make sure there's no electricity running through that. And the capacitor, also a dangerous one too. Make sure you use an insulated screwdriver or anything like that to draw out all the power there. Once you have that out, then you should be easily able to replace any of these parts. And again, contactor, capacitor, $150 total for both of them. Look up the one specifically for your AC unit. You don't want to buy anything that is not OEM spec or the same one that you're replacing it with, unless that one that it was being replaced with is incorrect. But if it was working for a very long time, it's probably fine to replace it with that same model. But again, these things are pretty cheap, but these companies that work for HVAC, AC units, and what have you, are willing to charge you a boatload for this stuff. And if something you can do for $150 and maybe like 20-30 minutes of wiring, so easy to do. So with that said, thank you for watching. I hope this helps you. And yeah, I think in the middle of this, we actually had some issues where we thought it was the thermostat and all these different things, but it was just the contactor that was welded to this from a power surge. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.